Welcome to the Inside Silverstone podcast, a business-focused podcast covering all things tech, engineering and innovation. Hosted by me, Chris Broome, a huge tech, motorsport and gaming fan, and also the owner of Longhurst, a firm of lifestyle financial planners and independent financial advisors located in Silverstone, Northamptonshire. This is a series of unscripted and unpolished conversations with leading business owners, thought leaders and high-tech talent where we discuss their experiences within the Silverstone business and motorsport region. We will also be asking them to share their knowledge, insight and their thoughts on the future just for you. If you're looking to learn more about the Silverstone high growth region and commercially connect with like-minded peers, you've definitely come to the right place. Welcome to Inside Silverstone. Welcome to the next edition of Inside Silverstone. My name's Chris Broome and I'm your host. Today I am delighted to finally get on the show, because it's been a while, been asking for a while, Robert Cain, who is partner from Blaser Mills. Robert, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much indeed, Chris, and it's very kind of you to invite me on it. I'm sorry that I've been hard to get hold of, but there's been a lot going on this year, and I'm sure we'll get on to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, very exciting. And I say that positively. It's typically a chore getting most people on because it's a podcast and everyone's busy running a business and supporting clients or customers. And so, no, we're lucky to have you on, so thanks for coming on. As is customary, Robert, what I typically do is run through a quick sort of education and career snapshot so our wonderful dear listeners can understand why we've asked you to come on. So is it okay if I quickly do that?
Have a go, yeah, please do.
Okay, so clearly legal experts. You've got a law degree from the University of Durham.
Yeah, Desmond
Tutu. Okay, understood. But then, interestingly, not totally uncommon, you then actually trained as an accountant through Pricewater.
Yeah, classic scenario of a young person leaving without a clue what to do next.
Okay. So
a little bit of numbers and finance seemed to be sensible.
Yes.
Plus an extension really of your student life.
Okay. And so talk to us about sort of what happened from there. So you sort of got your law degree, trained as an accountant. You're now at Blaser Mills as partner. But what's happened in between there? So
well,
where have you worked?
Very quick summary of it for you, so that the folks listening aren't too stupefied by it. But leaving Durham straight into Pricewaterhouse, which was great fun and really good bunch of people, brilliant training ground. But accountancy was never going to quite be my thing. And I had a look at their marketing team, worked there for about 6 months before going into pure sales with United Biscuits. Again, great training, brilliant company, and sat there at one point thinking, well, shall I keep on the sales gig or shall I have a look at whether or not there's something else for me? I did a law degree and thought I'd go back and train as a lawyer. Joined Pennington's, did a training contract with them, and then qualified into Pennington's corporate team. Stayed with them, moved to Basingstoke, worked in that part of the world, and from there went on to join Denton Hall. So I moved up round to Milton Keynes. Stayed with Denton's for about 5 years. Again, another terrific firm that's grown now to be one of the world's largest law firms. And from there, I joined a regional firm, which was a sort of pioneering regional firm called Kimball's, which is now part of Freeth's. That was set up by Stephen Kimball. And they were basically city lawyers that had set up in Milton Keynes and had a very nice niche and had very good clients. Set up their commercial IT/IP team, so the internet boom. We boomed and we bust on the internet side there, and went on to join EMW, which was an up-and-coming regional firm. They were based in Northampton. They'd opened a Milton Keynes office and were looking to grow that rapidly and have an IT/IP specialism. And I joined them and went on to grow that team before eventually setting up on my own.
Aha, okay. So that was Cain Law.
That was Cain Law. So Cain Law came about in sort of recession time, I see.
Yeah, 2009.
2010. Big downturn for those who didn't live through it. It was pretty tense time. lots of people losing a lot of money, and some very daft decisions taken by some of our banks, which caused no end of difficulty for more people. Eventually, a bit of common sense prevailed, and the pressure was taken off. But I'd set up on my own here at Silverstone, and that was a pretty straightforward choice. I was thinking, on my own, where's a place everybody knows? What's easy to remember? I wasn't going to go to London. And when you meet people and say you're at Silverstone, everyone says, what, at the Grand Prix circuit? And when you say, yes, Luffield Corner, then they know exactly where you are. You don't even need a business card.
Yeah.
So that was an easy move. And I set up there with Martin Hines, for those who remember the late great. Brilliant man in every way, and he offered me a bit of office space. He'd just bought GPR, Grand Prix Racewear, and I was camped up there and loved it. It was like a sort of Mr. Ben moment where nobody really knew. There was a lawyer lurking upstairs, hidden away from the commercial world, and if anybody wanted to come and meet me, they'd go down to the reception. Everyone thought they were buying kit or a racing helmet or something like that, and then there'd be a question: is the lawyer upstairs? And up they go, and
there you were,
and there I was, yeah.
And so have you always, presumably you've been into motorsport? We're talking about Luffield Corner and Silverstone, but you said it with a sparkle in your eye. So is this an area
motorsport? I absolutely love it. I mean, as a lawyer, fantastic, and I've been incredibly lucky. So you can't discount the part that luck has to play. But mine all came about through a chap called David Whitehead. Some people will know him. David ran the Hyundai World Rally team, amongst many other things that he did then. And I was lucky enough to be their lawyer. And that led me into all sorts of different places, fascinating, and culminating in their massive dispute with the Hyundai Motor Corporation.
Right.
I'm never entirely sure how much of that I can reveal, but either way, we ended up in arbitration in Frankfurt for many tens of millions. So that was a big space, and from there it grew. Once you get to know people, people recommend you, and all of it's been through recommendation. But very big high point, probably acting for the Racing Steps Foundation for 10 years.
And so for those that haven't heard of Racing Steps, what's that?
So RSF, that was a sort of a philanthropic, not-for-profit set up. Graham Sharp is the man who was behind it, and what it allowed to happen was for young British racing drivers who couldn't afford to make their way up the ladder, it was fully funded by the Racing Steps Foundation. So many young drivers went through it over a 10-year period, and with huge degrees of success. Unfortunately, no one ever quite made it to F1, but got very close. But that's a different story. I'm sure you can do a very interesting podcast on how you fund your way into F1.
Yeah.
If you haven't got.
Well, I think we should. I think with recent Lewis Hamilton TV interview where he was speaking about the same thing, saying he had a good friend that was sort of stepped over by someone with a lot more money, and so wasn't able to enter.
I think there are many stories like that, and some you can reveal and some you can't.
Sure.
If you want to read the back page of the coffee table book put together by the Racing Steps, that gives you a bit of an insight into another lad who might have been stepped over.
Well, then I think, let's put a pin in that and come back to that. I think that'd be a fascinating podcast, or maybe even a mastermind session to do. So let's talk about that. So Cain Law, 2009-ish sort of set up, and then what happened? So you're clearly doing some fantastic work in and around motorsport, tech, IT, IP presumably, and then what happened?
So got to a point where I was looking and thinking, I've been here for quite a while. I was rather enjoying just being my own, but I thought I'd better do something a bit more than this, feeling there was still life in the old dog, and decided to see if anybody was interested in buying my law firm. And 2 or 3 people poked their head over the parapet, probably wish they hadn't, but they did. And Blaser Mills came along and made a very nice offer. They saw that I could add a lot to their business, or the firm could add a lot to its business, and I've been with them now for just under 3 years, so 2.5 years.
And so in relation to Blaser Mills, and for those that haven't heard of them before or just weren't too sure, explain who Blaser Mills are, what they specialise in as a firm, regionally where they're based.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds a bit like a sort of Midlands clothing manufacturer.
Blaser Mills.
But it isn't. Blaser Mills, really, private client is where they really got their reputation. They also have very good residential property side to them, and the litigation.
Well, the property side won a Buckinghamshire Business Award regionally, the conveyancers of the year for the region.
Claimed to be the best in the world.
There apparently. We are. Boom.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
So that's where they got their reputation, and I think you could sit back and leave it like that. And they had offices Amersham, Rickmansworth, High Wycombe. That's where they're based. They've got also in London. They got an office there to deal with their high net worth clients. But I think they wanted to move into the corporate and commercial world. One way you can do that is to hire people gradually. And I think they looked at it and thought, well, let's have a look at my firm and see if it would work for them. And, touch wood, and I do touch wood because you can't ignore the fact that if you're on a rising tide, it's not easy to judge whether it's you yourself or you've made good decisions. We've gone from more or less half a person there doing corporate commercial work. We now have round about 8, and that's in 2.5 years, and we're still growing and recruiting into it. And it's been a real success.
And is that in part because of the sort of Silverstone region? Because you guys have got an office here, so we're recording this here at the Innovation Centre at Silverstone Park. So would you put that down to in part the community here?
Oh gosh, yes, yeah. We've got a good client network here, and it grows. And we also refer work into people here. We've just had some translation done by Matterhorn, which was done brilliantly. They turned it around in 24 hours. Fab service. There we are. Quick advertising for them.
Yeah, good.
And also delightful people to work with. And in fairness, that's true of everybody in this unit. And I think it's one of the great things about a unit where you've got multiple different businesses. You get so much more energy out of it than you get from a single business. And in fact, you get very little people who are low. You get them always on a relative high, I think. And it's infectious. So I really enjoyed that. Our base here is very successful for us. There's no doubt about it. And it's not really just in motorsport. What happens is that motorsport itself is an inherently sort of wealth-draining environment. Those who, the old start with a large one is how you make a small fortune in motor racing. And most people in it either own a business or they've set up on their own. They want to set up on their own. They're go-getting type of people. And for us, that means that it's easy for us to grow and expand our client base through that. And also, we've got a lot to offer because we've met interesting people. So it wouldn't be odd for me to go and have a curry in Wheaton with guys who are all talking about historic motor racing.
Sure.
And guess what comes out of that? Somebody then is doing a renovation project. And before you know it, they need some advice on how they put that together.
And so presumably you help, so if we just focus on businesses for a moment, because what we just mentioned there. So presumably you help businesses from sort of start up through to exit, and so if you are helping businesses, say from a sort of startup perspective, how important are things like IT and intellectual property and protecting their brand and things like that?
Yeah, the startup. So the start to finish, I've been with a number of times, and sometimes serving on the board of those companies.
Okay.
So not only have I seen the impact of the legal input, but also the stresses and pressures that those businesses are under as they try to grow, particularly on the sales side. And in fairness, the law side is probably the least critical part, and it's very easy for people to be hoodwinked into spending a large sum of money on legals at the get-go, when in fact the thing you're probably going to underfund most is going to be your sales function.
Okay.
So I have quite a lot of experience of that, and what I'd like to think is that I give proportionate advice. In fact, the team we've got now is geared around giving proportionate advice, and we've advised very small startups to get a very basic level of investment in, and then put a light touch documentation which still reflects what they actually want, without going into too much intensive work. There are certain setups which do require intensive work. If you do have third-party investment, then they're going to want more intense paperwork, and you do need people who can steer you through it. And there are a number of good firms in the area that can help you with that. And I'd like to think that we would be on people's shortlists when they're thinking about what to do. But it is a gradual immersion as you need more and more legal input. IP at the start, you need to figure out what is your business being built around. Is it being built around the IP, or is it around the sales function, or is it around the service? What is critical to your business? Very easy to say all three and run out of money in the first 6 months. But until you understand the core of your business, you can't then really apply the legals to it. And IP could be right at the heart. Patents could be exactly where you're going to make your money. Your trademark and your brand could be where you're going. And if you're a Me Too type business, then your trademark might be critical. And I can promise you, like night following day, no one will spend enough money on that area. They'll wait until it's too late.
And why do you think that is?
Because I think quite a lot of people will think about the name and come up with a lovely name and probably do very little due diligence on whether that name has a global effect, whether it translates effectively to the internet, whether it's already taken in a number of jurisdictions and ought to be reconsidered. And then if it is the name that matters, how much are you going to invest in projecting that name? And are you going to license that name to others? And what steps will you take to protect it? And those all matter. And you need a plan and a strategy.
So I guess, sat here overlooking a picture of Formula One to our right-hand side or your left-hand side. So quite a well-known comment, most recent one would be sort of Rich Energy with their involvement with Haas and obviously the logo, which was partially a sort of a rip-off of such of a BMX bike company in America from memory, and that went to court, and then
good one, Chris.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, okay. I was behind the scenes on that.
Oh, were you really?
Yeah. So,
I did not know that.
Okay. Well, no. I was. Yes.
Sincerely, did not know that. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. No. And so I will be circumspect in my description.
Fine. So that's.
But a brilliant example of trademarking. So yes, Rich Energy. Where do you want to start?
I'm flabbergasted that I've provided an example that you're working on. So forgive me. We'll sort of park that and we'll move on.
But it is a good example of trademarking, and also what came out of it is quite interesting. I was also involved in a number of different levels on that because I was acting for Jordan King as well, who you may know it was sponsored by Rich for the Indy. And of course, you suddenly start picking up all your paperwork when suddenly somebody says there's a trademark infringement, because guess what? You've got it on your race suit in a race series in which you have indemnified the race owners against any form of trademark infringement. And you're in America. And one of the things the Americans do like is to give someone a good kicking if they nick their brand. But yeah, great advertising for the bike company.
Yes.
Great advertising, way above what they could afford. And in fairness, let's be real, why didn't they give some money to him? Because he'd made them more famous than they'd ever been.
Sure.
But I think that that is a good example. That was a startup. Rich was a startup, a drink startup, all about the brand and getting involved in F1 in order to spread the word, it being one of the two sports that you can use if you want to go global.
Yeah.
So yeah, fantastic, Chris. Good choice.
Wow.
We'll talk some more when this mic is...
Yeah. Fine. Let's talk a bit more about motorsport then. So this is clearly an area that you're passionate about. You can see that you're passionate about it, and clearly from a sort of understanding and a skill set, very deep in it. So let's talk about how else you help businesses. So I've written down a number of things here. So, and we've clearly just touched on some. So, agreements, joint ventures, team and driver sponsorship, and also sort of international sort of network.
Have a go at all of it?
Yeah,
give you a quick snapshot.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
People can get a feel for, particularly those who are looking at what as you said, some of this goes to students that might be interested in getting into this particular space.
Sure.
And one of the things is to show, or that I've been lucky with, is the diversity of the work that I've done. I mean, the corporate side at Blazers, we have a really good, experienced corporate team. It's not large. It's based in High Wycombe. It has a cost advantage, but it has an expertise advantage. So we've got 5-6 lawyers there. We've got one joining us in Silverstone, corporate expert from a Northampton firm, joining us next month. In fact, on Monday.
Okay, great.
So he'll be based here permanently. And we'll be supplementing that. We've got another commercial lawyer joining us who's going to come into our ITIP team. So we're going to be growing that too. Type of work they do, so corporate transactions, it will be the classic. If you go onto any internet, everyone will be claiming to do it. So I can't give you anything that's going to be particularly revealing about it, but we have done a lot of first round, second round, third round funding. So what you look at there is migrating from friends and family to institutional investors, and then people have come back to us again to do the next round of funding. So we're getting something right, otherwise they'd go and use another firm. So we're obviously getting, I think, the price right, and the really important thing for me is the quality of the service, that we build a relationship. And we act for businesses locally in doing that, and we act for ones that are based overseas as well. And what we've done is to join a network called IR Global, a fantastic network, brilliantly run. And I've been to a number of their meetings, so have a number of my colleagues as well. And we go around the world to meet up with lawyers from around the world. So my big boast as a part of being a member of that is I think that I could help any company anywhere in the world at any time. And that's through that network. And it's not one where the people haven't heard of you or met you. I've met most of these people, not hundreds of them, but I've met scores of tens. And we were in Amsterdam recently, where we started our fledgling international sports group. And they're very excited about that. So there we are on the canal with lawyers from around the world, all talking about different sports that we all represent. And then the proposition is that whether it's a sportsman or a sports team, we can find you a lawyer wherever you are participating, wherever you happen to be, whatever you're trying to do. Could be equestrian, could be basketball, could be handball, soccer, motor racing. We have the expertise to advise on all of those. And even if it's, let's say, a criminal incident that you've been involved in and you need immediate help, and that might be in Mexico, well, I can pick up the phone within the next 10 minutes to someone I have personally met, a lawyer in Mexico, who'll be able to help you.
Fantastic.
It's
and this is new.
Yeah, it'll be new, and what we're hoping is that it'll be of such a quality that and a reach. That's the point. That it's not one firm doing this. This is going to be full-on internet-based collaboration through the IR Global Network. I feel very much sort of law of the 21st century, where we're actually going to use technology plus relationships in order to provide this global service. So I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, that is very exciting. I think there's a future podcast interview, just an episode just on that. I think,
with all of them. You can have
have them all dialing in from different countries. So, okay. So, and remaining on sort of supporting businesses. I've done a lot of sport, haven't I? Motorsport, not much on businesses. That's okay, but we're sat in the home of British Motorsport. So and it's tech. That's the other point. Yes. The other bit that's very exciting about this space, it's easy for people to just go on motorsport, but there's so much more happening in this space. The fascinating technology businesses. I mean, I know there's a lot about electric because of the obvious move there, and there's masses going on just on this estate in that space. And we're just very lucky to recently be retained by Lunaz Design, who've set up over the road. So, well, the good news is, Robert, that the interview prior to this, the one that aired before this interview, was the team from Lunaz. Oh, was it? Absolutely fantastic. I mean, what a love it, absolutely love it. We're chuffed to bits to be working. Have you been to the site there yet? Yeah, I have. Yeah, I had all round there last week. So it's brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, fantastic cars. It's one of those things where you just want to stay and keep looking. Oh yeah, then I then started asking about motorbikes. They've got a couple of motorbikes there. I saw. They're not working well at the moment, but I thought, God, restoring old motorbikes back to electric would just be. Yeah, well, I looking at the ones that we've just been working with them on at the moment for the sale of those. It's real. This is a business that's moving, and I think it's going to be absolutely fascinating to see how they get on over the next 24 months. Yeah, the some of the meetings that they've been having, and we touched on it briefly in the interview, podcast interview before this. Impressive. Far East through to global. Not just individuals, but organisations that are looking to enhance their existing fleet of vehicles. Yeah, and I think it's going to be one of those where it's going to be fueled by imagination, by wealth, by people who've got a big creativity. Imagination, that's a great word to use for that. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to it, and great people. David and John are going to make big difference there. And, I'm very positive about that, and like everything, if you're part of it, and it's very exciting, and to be part of it is we are excited by it. But that's so tech is the bit where we do enjoy, and so we do a bit of work for a terrific company on the data side, and we shouldn't miss out on data. The FT ran an article not long ago saying that
data is the new oil, and I think that's very true. And you can use all the oil analogies of the mining, the refining, the storage, and then the conversion and use. And we get involved at all stages of that, and the IP around that is going to be interesting. And how that gets used and aggregated, or everyone's reading about it in the press, and everyone knows, Google and the likes are paying enormous sums of money for data companies and data analytics. And in fact, that will bring me on to another role that I'm now involved in with Bell Microsystems, where a lot of what they do is data analytics of spending in order to provide a savings mechanism for massive multinationals on a global basis. But I think there are some interesting threads coming out of the way that business is developing for Blaser Mills. One is the internationalization, without any shadow of doubt, the rise of data as a massive space. And we are doing work with a cancer company, which is all around data. It's a cancer startup, just gone through its second round of funding, and it's moved from a valuation of fairly modest to fairly significant. And they are looking to pioneer the use of data in early detection of cancer. And the point behind that is it's an inexpensive way of detecting. And if you think about the consequences for the NHS, it will have a massive impact.
Billions, trillions, you could say, but over a lifetime. Yeah,
it is. And this is just one business. There are multiple businesses doing these things. And we're very lucky to get involved in them at the beginning and just talk to people about what they're trying to do, how they're trying to license their technology. Some of it they're bringing in, some of it they're putting out. What are the terms upon which they're doing that? And at a simple level, you're just trying to reduce the risk of liability. But at a more complex level, you're trying to explain to them or describe how you might license or distribute your IP or your brand, or what are you going to do when you're taking in technology because you need to aggregate it with your own and then distribute that, and what is the deal you're going to try and negotiate that will get you that in the right way. And hopefully it all goes right, but I have been with ones that have it's gone very badly wrong, Chris, and that can be a very unpleasant space as well.
Yeah, rougher than smooth, right? You're going to always have the success, but there are going to be organisations that you work with where it doesn't pan out, right?
Yeah, and when it goes wrong badly. People fall out. You create enemies. You find yourself at the wrong side of the whole deal. You're disappointed. Things you thought you were going to succeed with haven't succeeded. And it does put enormous pressure, not just upon you as a business, and probably upon your family. And that can lead you into some pretty dark places. And sometimes into pretty extensive litigation, which you hope to avoid, but it doesn't always go that way. But
you're there every step of the way, presumably providing support, providing
you're
counsel, trying to steer the ship, as it were, hand on the tiller, trying to direct them.
Yeah, definitely. You're trying to, but don't forget you've probably got an adversarial situation now, and people who at one stage you're around a boardroom table with. There may be one or two of them that are now the other side of the fence, and you're trying to figure out how that deal might come together, or whether there's a deal to be done at all. It could be that it is just how do you part company in a way where nobody becomes too much of a casualty. So very much involved in that. But as a result, you get a lot of experience, and I've been very lucky to chair an outfit called Bingo Express, which was huge fun. And that was
what company is that? Who are they?
So Bingo Express was to do with what do they call them? FOBTs, fixed odds betting terminals. Nasty little blighters in betting shops that have had a lot of bad press because of addiction. But the bingo community was losing out big style to the high street. They wanted to come up with something which provided some sort of alternative form of entertainment, and they were looking how best to do that. So a group of companies that all provide some form of bingo to the public, either through arcades or through leisure complexes, got together to come up with a solution, and this company was put together, and Nick Harding was at Presepe, which was based in Milton Keynes. He asked if I wouldn't mind chairing it. He was trying to find someone who'd be daft enough to do it, and he knew who to rely on.
Okay, and so
did that for a couple of years.
Positive outcome for the
community. Great. Well, I got involved with the Gambling Commission, got involved with techies because it's all about technology. Licensing of the technology to build the the platform that would allow you to create this game. They came up with a fantastic game, and it was there to achieve the objectives. I don't know how much it's been rolled out. But yeah, it was, and as a result of that, we do quite a bit of work in and around that space on the technology side.
I was going to say, because one of my next questions just naturally being generated was, how are you meeting these organisations? But I presumably, work within motorsport, work within technology. How did you meet the cancer tech business? But presumably it's just word of mouth, personal introductions.
It's all bonkers stuff. You think to yourself, let's go and get a marketing strategy and what have you. My marketing strategy by and large is to just work hard.
Yes.
And if people invite you to something, go.
Yes.
You never lose out from meeting people.
Yeah.
It's never a disadvantage, unless you don't quite like meeting people and prefer to work on your own. That's fine, but that's not my thing. And some of it is just accidental. Some is deliberate. We're members of the MIA and have been. I've known the MIA for yonks, and I really enjoy their company. We go to a lot of their things, and that works very nicely for us. In that we get introduced to people, we get the opportunity to talk at events, and we do lots of work in the tech side of motorsport and automotive. So we sometimes get involved in that crossover between automotive and motorsport, where folks that are used to just a handshake, or not even a handshake, everyone, you have to trust each other when you're delivering at that speed, at that time. You haven't got time to sign bits of paper, and you don't have a lot of truck for somebody who relies upon it later on, particularly if it's done to your disadvantage. But in the automotive world, paper is everything. You've got thumping great big contracts, and part of our job is to then help the motorsport folk see through that and see if they're ready to commit to it. Do you really want to be producing at that volume for that amount of money? Perhaps not. Perhaps you're better off producing smaller volumes for bigger money and sleeping more soundly at night. So
and you help out. He's fine.
Yeah,
good.
So that's So or it can be just walking along the street in the village. That's how I got the cancer guys. So the guy who set the company up.
Really?
Yeah, just walking around the street. We knew each other reasonably well. And he just said, "Do you know any good IP lawyers?" And I said, "None that spring to mind, but I know a sort of mediocre fat one." And
here I am.
To be honest with you, with the money we've got, that'll probably do.
Fantastic story. Yeah. And they've obviously said they've already been through rounds of funding, and they've come back for more.
Two rounds and more, and let's see what happens next.
Good luck to them.
They've got a very driven man running it.
Rob, we are 31 minutes into this podcast. We have literally gas bags. It's very, very good.
Sorry, Chris, whether you're too good at this.
No, it's good. 30 to 40 minutes is pretty normal, but not much scripting. You've got just literally just gas bag, which is a
lot to talk about. It's an exciting time.
Hugely positive. So you said village. So you live regionally. You live in sort of South Northamptonshire.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So we are just outside Daventry.
Okay, and you had some time down in Surrey, early career, but how long have you been up here?
Home counties, probably the accent gives that away. And then been up, I can't even remember when I moved up here. So I came up here to join Denton Hall, and we've been up here.
That's 92.
Ever since. I say up here, we're in the bloody Midlands.
Yeah. Middle.
Let's get real.
North of the Watford Gap.
Yeah, we are. We're in the industrial heartland of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, enjoy living South Northamptonshire. Good area to live.
Fantastic. Yeah, I like West. The East Midlands, West Midlands. We're right in the middle. Because you've got people are busy. This is a busy part of the world, and the good manufacturing base. When people start talking about sort of low levels of productivity, that just doesn't apply to here. There's high levels of industrial intensity and high levels of productivity, great creativity. Yeah, I think this place should be modelling itself on becoming like the sort of entrepreneurial centre of the UK.
Yeah, I mean, my next question is going to be, obviously, Blaser Mills have got an office here. So I said we're at the Innovation Centre on Silverstone Park. So for those listening to this interview who potentially aren't part of the Silverstone Technology Cluster and aren't based on site, why should they consider joining the cluster, similar to my business Longhurst, and also consider moving here and move their office here? Why?
Well, I think most of it, is obvious to those who are members. Those who are not, people can often sort of poo-poo joining various different societies or associations, but these things, you get out of it what you put in. And the cluster is about bringing together like-minded people, businesses, where there's something of value to be gained, both by meeting and sharing time with people, but also listening to what others have got to say. And the ones that I've been to, I think the talks have been very good. You've heard something you haven't known. You've met people you've not met before. And in many instances, you might be meeting people you know, but you haven't had time to meet with them. And this is an opportunity to do it. So the cluster delivers that, and also shows you stuff that you didn't really know was necessarily happening in your area, and may allow you to sort of link up with people and maybe share some technology, share some ideas, and maybe just share a bit of the pain as well. So I think the cluster delivers on a number of fronts. So, well done to them in setting that up, and to the people that sponsored it in the first place. So, that's the cluster. For Silverstone, well, to just come and work here. I think it's a brilliant place. I haven't told many of my colleagues about it. I just looked over your shoulder then, Chris, and Jackie, who's one of my colleagues, was just waving because she's gone. Okay. But she sneaks in here now. But I'm keeping it a really big secret, but no longer, of what a great place it is to work. Parking's easy, people really easy to get on with. And in fairness to Roz, Ruth, Nicola and Sarah, they do a brilliant job here. And Mike, sorry. Yes. They do a brilliant job here and make you feel very much a part of the place. And I enjoy the social stuff. We came second in the quiz, for pity's sake. Yeah, I think we came second last year. I think we came third or fourth this year. Yeah, so, you're shocking. Yeah, we were pretty well. A long way. Well, we were last to begin with, halfway, and so we sort of had a sort of burst towards the end. Yeah. I think the team that won last year as well. Well, we're not going to say anything, are we? Yeah. There should be a handicapping process. They should have to get pissed before they take part. Yes, more alcohol. Yeah. That was disappointing. I thought there should have been. But the social side here is very good. Obviously, they do a sports day. There's five-a-side football. I've spoken to Pim. Fitness. I've spoken to Pim about organising a go-karting session. We've got to do a go-karting session. Right? We've got to see who's the fastest on the site. Yeah. And then also maybe like an Easter shoot. Go to a clay pigeon sort of range, which might be sort of fun thing for certainly people that haven't shot before. So. Yeah, there's some good ones around here, easy to get to. Yeah, Holmesbury, just south Warwickshire. 9 holes of golf in an evening. Yeah, could do that. Yeah, I've literally started. I'm waffling now, but yes, I started having lessons up at Whittlebury. Oh, you've gone. Yeah, I've literally got one in an hour and a half. Anyway, well, any top tips? I'm shocking, which is why I'm going back for lessons. They're very good actually. Standing too close to the ball after you've hit it. Yeah, a chap called Richard. Highly recommend him at Whittlebury. Anyway, right, I digress. We are now 36 minutes in. Right, 3 last questions so we can close this interview off so you can get back to your busy day. Fire away. Is there anything I haven't asked you that whilst we've been talking, ideas have been firing off in your head? Anything whilst I've got you on the radio? No, I think if it's solely from the law perspective, I don't think there's anything in particular. I hope I've covered everything, and people, if they are interested in using us, have got an idea of what we can do. And if they're thinking about this as a possible career, then pick up the phone and have a chat and talk about what you can achieve and what might be achievable. No, I think by and large I've given you as much as I can about the firm without labouring over similar subjects. Okay, next question. Embarrassing mistakes. So we like asking embarrassing mistakes, and it's in part to humanise everybody, to say, look, we all make mistakes. Sometimes they're really embarrassing, sometimes they're really funny, sometimes we think, God, I shouldn't have done that, and sometimes we just like to laugh at it. So is there anything, I'm feeling, Rob, I'm looking at you, I'm thinking he's a man that maybe has an embarrassing story in the locker. Too many? I'm going to be very selective so that it's not too revealing. Okay. Yeah, no, they 1 or 2 professional errors, and hopefully with no cost consequences. So if you are out there and you are feeling, drum roll. No, there was a couple of embarrassing moments. So I was on a while ago working with, in fact, the chap who's about to join us on Monday on a fairly substantial IT sale for a very well-known household name, and we were on the conference call. I'd gone skiing and was needed to be on the call, so I thought I'd better make myself available. Lay down on the bunk to listen to the conversation, And then my colleague said, all we could hear the other end was you snoring.
You fell asleep. Oh my God.
And I couldn't wake you up. So I woke up and all I could hear was the call had come to an end. And he said within about 30 seconds of it, everyone had to hang up and dial back in again.
That is possibly.
So that was a bit embarrassing. The other one, in fact, a lot of it's to do with falling asleep, because I've got to be honest with you, some of these legal calls are dull as bloody ditch water and people know how to make you nod off. So I was on a call with a German lawyer on the sale of a business, and they were just rabbiting on and on and on. And I nodded off and started saying tennis rackets. And I can't remember why. I know why it was. I was supposed to be playing tennis that night. And I'd left it at home, I think. And just in my sleep, I just suddenly said tennis rackets. And all I suddenly woke to was the German lawyer saying, tennis rackets? Tennis rackets? What is that to do with this deal?
Possibly the two best stories we've had in 47 interviews, Robert. I think you are. You've got to be at the
humiliating.
Top, falling asleep whilst on a skiing trip and snoring down the phone. Brilliant. But everyone saw the funny side, presumably, and
well,
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
So lesson learned. Earlier nights the night before. Yeah.
I should never have agreed. Skiing and conference calls never bloody work.
Yeah,
no, that was a classic schoolboy error.
Well, moving
Chris.
on to life lessons. So this was like the number one life lesson that a young Rob would pass on to the next generation.
Yeah.
Have we just covered it off, or is there something else that you would pass on to the next generation?
Well, I've given you a couple already just then.
You have.
Yeah. One is put your phone on mute.
Yes.
Very important. Always do that.
Yes.
When you're on a long and tedious call.
Yeah.
Because you're bound to nod off. There are life lessons, because you get to, I'm 57 now and have children of my own, and you are always keen to make sure people fulfill their potential. No one wants to walk away saying they could have put more effort in. So my principle, and by the way, if you do want to listen to a fab BBC Sounds, do listen to the Sam Warburton interview. I think that is fabulous. And his message is simple too. Some of us are lucky enough to be skillful. Some of us have talents, but if you're like me, you don't really have any, if many. So it's about hard work. It's about doing the simple things really, really well. And in my game, it's about service, it's about commitment and passion. And if you get those three right, by and large, you're not going to go wrong. I haven't set the world on fire, but equally, I've got a very enjoyable and successful business. And I think you do the same there, do the same in your private life, and it's going to go pretty well for you most of the time. And when it goes badly, try not to throw your toys out of the pram too far so that you can't retrieve them. That's about it.
Hear. Fantastic interview, Robert. Thank you so much for coming on the show, promoting Blaser Mills, all things motorsport, tech, IP, IT, and falling asleep on conference calls. Fantastic interview. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Definitely want to talk to you about doing something about the international sports sort of network project that you're talking about.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about it.
But also the Racing Steps Foundation. I think there is more we could do there. So let's put our mind to that.
Chris, it's really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
The Inside Silverstone podcast is produced by the team at Longhurst for the benefit of those with a passion for all things tech, engineering and innovation. For more information, please visit longhurst.co.uk/Inside Silverstone, whilst also remembering to give us a 5 out of 5 star rating on iTunes. Please note that neither Chris Broome or Longhurst work for Silverstone Park, Silverstone Circuit or Silverstone Technology Cluster.